Greetings, everyone. This is Croy, chapter 27, New Testament sentences number 2, which is Luke 13:16. This is a longish and somewhat complicated verse to pick apart what goes with what. So let's take it a piece at a time. I've often said that a good way to approach Greek sentences is to look for a conjugated verb, that is a finite verb, or to look for a nominative. In this sentence, that's going to get us past our initial clause. Tautein is feminine accusative, this woman. Daughter is accusative. Abraham is got to be genitive here. We'll talk about that in a minute. Usan is feminine accusative. So this woman, daughter of Abraham, being. We're still looking for a finite verb. Whom, Hain, bound the Satan. The Satan bound her. But Hain is our relative pronoun. So although hasatanas is nominative, the article helps you know that, and although edesen is an aorist, a regular first aorist to bind, so we have a conjugated verb and a nominative, but they're all within a subordinate clause. So we're still looking for a main verb, and the main verb comes in the third line, where you get ede, and that doesn't really look like a normal conjugated verb. In fact, I don't think it's a verb form that we necessarily know. So what is that? Well, ede is just de in the imperfect. You see, you just add the temporal augment, and de, which means it must or it is necessary, becomes ede, it was necessary. And with this verb, we get a helpful clue to how to pick apart the rest of the sentence. It was necessary, or it is necessary, usually needs an accusative and an infinitive. It was necessary for some noun in the accusative to do something in the infinitive. So let's hunt for our accusative. It was necessary. In fact, the infinitive is in this case easier to find. It was necessary. Luthenai. That's an aorist passive infinitive from luo. It was necessary to be undone. For whom to be undone? We're looking for an accusative. And here we go back to the beginning of the sentence. The basic core of this sentence is, it was necessary for this woman, we just know it's a woman because tautein is feminine and accusative. It was necessary for this one to be undone. That's the heart of the sentence. Just to line that up, we can see it was necessary, ede, and then we'll add our accusative, tautein, for her, and our infinitive, luthenai. So that is, it was necessary for this woman to be set free. The rest of that sentence, which I've underlined here, is relatively easy, right? Be set free from what? From apo plus the genitive to desmu tutu, this, the bond. Our demonstratives always take the article with the noun, so the bond, this one, when in the day of the Sabbath. It was necessary for this woman to be set free from this bond on the day of the Sabbath. All right, we've covered most of the main part of the sentence now. You will have noticed that there is one word we haven't dealt with yet, and that is uk. Well, we know how to translate uk. That is just a negation. So instead of Jesus saying, it was necessary for this woman to be set free, we'll just put the uk in. It was not necessary for this woman to be set free from this bond on the day of the Sabbath. But wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense, does it? Hold on. This is a question. And when we have uk in a question, it expects the answer yes. So we need to translate, wasn't it necessary for this woman to be set free from this bond on the day of the Sabbath? And when we intone it that way, we realize the answer is, yes, of course it was necessary for her to be set free on the day of the Sabbath. Now let's look at the relative clause, hein edesen hasatanas. Tautane is feminine and accusative, this woman. And so if we want to have a relative pronoun, whom, that agrees with tautane, the relative pronoun is going to have to agree with its antecedent in gender and number, so it's going to have to be feminine and singular, but it's going to take its case from its own clause. In this clause, Satan is the subject of a finite verb, edesen, to bind, and so hain needs to be accusative because it's the object of the verb. This woman whom Satan has bound. Finally, let's look at this participial phrase, thugatera Abraham usan. Parsing it's just a matter of recognizing that this is the feminine accusative participle of to be, of ami, and thugatera is the accusative of daughter. Abraham, there's no way to tell formally what case it is, but you can try the various cases, and the only one that will work here is the genitive, a daughter of Abraham. How are we going to translate this? Well, we could just start with something really wooden and literal. This woman, being a daughter of Abraham. And that'll work, and it's not a bad translation. But if we look at the meaning of the whole sentence, probably this is a case of a causal nuance to the participle. Wasn't it necessary for this woman, whom Satan had bound for 18 years, to be loosed from her bond on the day of the Sabbath? What's the sense then of her being a daughter of Abraham? It adds some poignancy to why it was she ought to be loosed, especially since she is a daughter of Abraham. Now, there's nothing formal in the words in the participle that would tell you it's especially, but with participial phrases, you often want to try a causal interpretation or a concessive interpretation, and in this sense, some sort of causal nuance works pretty well.